talker.
Yeah, here I am.
Who the fuck is Nick Pell?
We're gonna have to blur that out.
Are you a Canadian?
Fuck no, I'm an American.
What are you doing in rural Ireland?
I basically moved out here to get out of the city and be closer to my family, and it's a fucking disaster. I mean,
I think there's a story behind this that we're not allowed to hear.
We were just watching your video, and this plays out the same every single time. They decide something is racist when it isn't, and then they say I'm for free speech, but this crosses a line. So they always make those same two mistakes.
yeah, I mean, I don't even understand what everyone was so upset about when it really comes down to it. I mean, the thing that this ultimately boils down to is I published a glossary of terms used by the alt-right on the internet, and people reacted as if I had made these terms up myself. There's this usual kind of really how these upper middle class, respectable, quote unquote educated, which really just means they have some fucking gender studies degree,
right,
a media studies degree or some bullshit, and they're all like getting the vapors over it. This guy Colum, who you had me on, he's a real piece of work. He was a real prick to me backstage for no real reason other than to, piss on a peasant.
Well, you fit his little mold of a racist, so he finally gets to virtue signal, because these people's entire identity is predicated on fighting Nazis and fighting fucking Klansmen, but they can't find any. The supply doesn't meet the demand. So when they find someone who dared to write a glossary of terms, they go, well, if this is all you got, I'll just hate him.
Yeah, and they brought up Donald Trump is emboldening the Klan, and Donald Trump and the disabled reporter, which one of the few good licks I felt like I got in last night was telling people to go look that up, look it up on YouTube, look it up on Google. It's how he imitates a flustered person.
Yes.
And they can't lie about this anymore because people can just go home and Google it. I felt like the audience for the most part was on my side. All the, nasty, bad guy, mean man journalists tend to be on my side. So I feel like I'm pissing off all the right people and, making some good friends out of it, actually.
I have to admit, I am surprised at how long it's taking the far left to realize that the jig is up and they're the laughingstock now. Like Meryl Streep the other night crying about the disability person that was mocked when they weren't, and everyone is crying and clapping, and you go, you guys have to leave. Like, last call was November 10th. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Go.
Well, that's the thing is they're the class tattletale that thinks that they're the class bad boy. There's these establishment types who piss all over anyone who doesn't toe their line, but they think that they're these edgy rebels who are fighting this battle against, fascist oppression, when in reality they're the oppressors. I mean, they're the ones making up the speech codes. And because Ireland is so far removed from kind of the rest of the West being off, shoved in a corner, they haven't gotten the memo yet that as you said, the jig is up. Their time when they could just kind of go, you're a racist, which is like calling somebody a fucking witch.
There's one black guy in all of Ireland, and he sang for Lynyrd Skynyrd. No, Thin Lizzy. That's the only guy they have. If you want to talk about slavery, then the only foot in the grave, what foot? The only cock in the fight. What's the term?
I think there's lots of foots in graves. I mean,
the
it's not
only
like people are buried without their legs.
that Ireland has in the slavery story is the Irish slaves. It's so unusual that they would pick black racism as their cause. It's like Saudi Arabians complaining about it.
I mean, they had an article in the Irish Times, I think. Oh, it could have been the Independent. I don't remember which, but it was maybe a month or two ago that was about. It was this whole thing written by somebody who was not of Irish descent about how the Irish weren't actually slaves, and this is a big myth. And it's like, there's a fucking Jim Goad article that you can Google that'll answer all this bullshit in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And the thing, they haven't gotten the point that it took a while for people for kind of everyone to get into new media and start getting their information on their own and not just be force-fed whatever bullshit talking points that the corporate media was giving them. But I don't know how the last election and Brexit hasn't hammered it home. I mean, they just can't you just can't lie with a blank check to people anymore. They can look, they can look it
Yeah.
up themselves.
Housewives said to pollsters, we're going to get Hillary elected. And pollsters said, okay, I'm going to write that down, 98%. And then celebrities said, hey, you value my opinion? I'm saying do Hillary, don't do Trump. And the media went, also, we're totally for Hillary. Vote Hillary. And then the entire country said no. And they go, what happened? Was it Russia? Like, they just can't fucking digest it. I wanted to ask you, Nick, in that video, that guy, it takes me a while, but I speak liberal, and I understand what he's saying. He was saying that you wrote a racist article. That's not true. And he was also saying that you're only pretending to be racist because you're a part-time troll, and it's just a way you make money by pretending to be racist. There's like, am I right? There's like 5 fallacies there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing he cites is an article I wrote for Cracked 3 years ago, which is a comedy website, as everybody knows, and it's supposed to be a satirical piece that kind of mocks people who are like, I'm outraged by this article. Let me share it with everyone, so that publishers and editors then go, well, shit, this got 30 million, individual impressions. I'm going to hire this guy again. And also, I do this column at LA Weekly called Unpopular Opinions, where I take unpopular opinions on music. And I don't, I literally never say anything I don't mean. I just turn the volume up to 11. I mean, in my head, in that Cracked article, I'm being Rick Rude. I'm coming out and being like, your local sports team is stupid and all you hillbillies suck.
Yeah, that's what they don't get. It's like stand-up comedy. Like when a comedian gets up and does his routines, he's not lying. He's just doing a hyperbolic version of his own beliefs. I would argue that in that NPI picture where there's Zeke Heiling, you got Tila Tequila in there. They had just been attacked by Antifa, who physically assaulted people at that meeting. So they were Zeke Heiling as a fuck you. They don't literally want to exterminate Jews. Tila Tequila is not literally a white supremacist. She's not white.
I don't even think she's literally Tila Tequila. If I'm wrong, I don't believe that's her birth name. I could be. Can we check on that? I do not believe that's her birth name.
The guy in the picture is Jewish. The guy whose face isn't covered is a Jewish guy standing there, Sig Heiling, with a Vietnamese girl. I mean, this is how, and they threw that picture around through this whole thing. I mean, there's just like, and no one stops and says, there's a Vietnamese woman and this guy's Jewish in this picture. Maybe this is not an entirely 100% serious thing that they're doing. Maybe this is designed to shock and provoke. And maybe I'm actually the asshole here because I'm falling for it.
Yeah, well, the demand for Nazis does not meet the supply. So if someone does a jokey Zeke Heil, I mean, I've seen that picture so many times I could paint it with my eyes closed.
Ooh,
and even the far right guys that I don't like, the ones who really are Nazis, I don't even think they're really Nazis. I think they're fucking spies and feds and just wasting everyone's time. So this hunt is about for 7 people. And those 7 real bona fide evil Nazi racists aren't hurting anyone.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, like one of the talking points I would have liked to have addressed is let's just talk about the body count of NPI versus the body count of left-wing groups that are stirring up.
Black Lives Matter, yeah.
Right, fill in the blank with your favorite, left-wing shit stirrer. I mean, the NPI are basically accused of holding meetings, peaceful meetings where no one's hurt. I mean, I stumped on that radio interview that you just showed the video of, I stumped the guy who hosted it because he was like, well, Richard Spencer did a Sig Heil at that NPI meeting. And I said, no, he didn't. And he didn't. He held it. I mean, unless everyone in a
HAIL, hail Trump.
And then did this. So everyone in a bar now is heiling Hitler when they raise a drink up.
It really is fucking pathetic.
In the words of our glorious leader said.
Yeah, well, speaking of Black Lives Matter and body counts, so the new Black Panther parties kills 5 cops in Dallas. That guy was a member of the Black Panthers. Meanwhile, Beyonce's dancing around in Black Panther clothes. And then at the riots that fomented, we had a black protester shoot and kill another black protester. So that's 7 deaths from the Black Panthers in one exchange. And we're worried about Tila Tequila, Zeke Heiling.
Although I would maintain that there's probably about as many true Black Panthers out there as there are so-called Nazi members in America.
That's an interesting theory. I would say
There's not. It's a
probably
kind of a
150 Klan
There might be
members,
more
and there's-
now, but when there was that whole election thing where everyone was saying that they were stopping people at the polls, there was like 6 of them.
Yeah,
Like in
one
the
city.
entire organization.
We'll look that up. Nicholas, thanks for coming on the show. I like you more than a friend, and we're gonna put we have tons of links for this. We'll put them all on Street Carnage.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me.
And keep kicking against the pricks.
Do my best.
Sounds like it hurts.